When I think about the journey of women starting over in Canada, I always begin with my mother. My name is Sidi Karamzadeh, and today I work as a paralegal and CEO of True North Legal Services, supporting refugees and newcomers as they rebuild their lives. But before I even sat behind the desk helping immigrants complete forms or navigate the legal system, I was a child watching my own mother start her life over from nothing. My mother arrived in Canada in 1987 with 4 children, eventually 5. She had no English skills, no recognized education, and no family to lean on. Canada was beautiful, yes, but it was unfamiliar, cold, and overwhelming. I remember her holding bus schedules upside down because she couldn't read the words. I remember her practicing English after midnight while all of us were asleep, repeating sentences over and over. She worked long night shifts as a cashier because those were the only hours she could find work. She would leave home exhausted and return home even more tired, but she always made space for us. She made sure we had books, warm jackets, and opportunities she never had. Her strength became the quiet foundation of our new life. As I grew older and began working with refugees and newcomers, I realized that my mother's experience is shared by millions. Today, about 4.2 million immigrant women are participating in Canada's labor market, and immigrants account for almost all of Canada's labor workforce growth. These women are essential to this country's future, but their journeys are not easy. Many immigrant women bring incredible talent and education with them, but the Canadian job market often does not recognize their credentials. In 2021, while about 80% of Canadian-born women with a university degree were employed full-time, only about 62% of recent immigrant women with the same level of education had full-time work. Many end up in survival jobs, retail, cleaning, caregiving, even when they were engineers, teachers, nurses, or business owners back home. Many work 2 or 3 part-time jobs just to cover rent and groceries, all while learning English, supporting their children, and trying to understand this new system. I see this especially in the Iranian community, women who came to Canada seeking stability, opportunity, and a chance to build a future on their terms. They arrive with strong academic backgrounds, deep cultural knowledge, and impressive work experience. Yet too often they find themselves starting from scratch. A woman who managed a company back home who suddenly be stocking shelves. A trained nurse may find herself working in a bakery. A university graduate may be cleaning offices at night. But there is something uniquely powerful about Iranian women and women in general, and that really about immigrant women from all around the world. They carry a resilience shaped not just by personal hardship, but by responsibility, by the need to hold their families together while navigating this unfamiliar territory. They build a life mix of fear and hope, often pushing through isolation, economic stress, and language barriers, and still they keep going. One Iranian woman I met started working in a factory within the first month of arriving in Canada. She had a master's degree in mathematics, but she did not yet know how to convert that credential into Canadian employment. She told me that every night as she walked home from her shift, she reminded herself that her current job was temporary, that a real career was waiting for her on the other side of the perseverance. 3 years later, after taking English classes and completing a bridging program, she became a data analyst at a tech company. What impressed me most was not her job title, but the fact that she never stopped believing she could get there. Stories like her are not rare. Statistics show that immigrant women who stay in Canada longer experience significant growth in employment, income, and economic participation. Over time, many successfully retrain, get their credentials assessed, and re-enter professional fields. Some become entrepreneurs. Immigrant women in Canada are actually more likely than Canadian-born women to start their own businesses. And these businesses, whether a bakery, daycare, a beauty salon, a catering service, or a consulting company, contribute to local economies, create jobs, and support entire communities. I see often among Iranian women specifically, they come with determination, creativity, and a deep desire to build something meaningful. Many start small businesses out of their homes, cooking, sewing, tutoring, caregiving, and slowly expand. I know women who opened up their first business with only $500 and a dream, and today they employ others, train newcomers, and serve as mentors for younger women who are just beginning their Canadian journey. And the emotional side of this journey is just as important as the economic one. Immigrant women often carry the invincible burden of rebuilding family identity in a new country. They are the ones learning how the system works, attending parent-teaching meetings, translating documents, helping their children navigate two cultures, all while trying to rediscover who they are in the middle of so much change. The emotional labor often goes unrecognized, but it is the heart of most immigrant families' success. I have met countless women who told me they spent their first year in Canada, quietly crying in the bathroom because they felt lost and alone. I remember my mom doing that. But these same women later told me they look back at the year as the beginning of their transformation. They learned English, one word at a time. They made their first Canadian friend. They secured their first Canadian job. They bought their first car. They discovered confidence they knew they had. One Iranian woman told me, Canada didn't just give me safety, it gave me permission to dream again. Another said, for the first time in my life, I feel like my daughter and I have a future. These feelings are powerful, and they echo across communities. Filipino women, Somali women, Afghani women, Ukrainian women, whether it's Chinese, Caribbean, Latin, no matter where they come from, the pattern is familiar. Struggle, adaptation, resilience, and eventually renewal. And Canada gains so much in return. Immigrant women enrich this country with languages, traditions, skills, food creativity, and global knowledge. They strengthen the workforce, raise the next generation of Canadian leaders, and model perseverance to everyone around them. Every success story, whether big or small, contribution to the larger story of Canada's growth. When I look back at my mother's journey, I now understand that she didn't just survive, she transformed. She built a new life not only for herself, but for her children and for the next generations that will come after us. And this is the same truth for thousands of women whose applications across my desk. Whether they come as student, workers, refugees, or permanent residents, they arrive with enormous potential. They rebuild from places of uncertainty, and they rebuild nonetheless. They turn fear into opportunity and hardship into hope. So today, when we talk about resilience, when we talk about immigrant women, including Iranian women, we are not just talking about statistics or systems. We are talking about human stories, stories of mothers working night shifts, of young women studying English after putting their children to bed, or grandmothers learning to navigate the new health systems, of students who arrive with 2 suitcases and a heart full of hope. Canada is shaped by these stories. Canada is strengthened by these women, their courage, their sacrifices, their determination. These are the quietly transforming our communities every single day. And so to every immigrant woman listening, and to everyone who has walked beside one another, know that your journey matters. Your struggles are real, your contributions are meaningful, and your resilience is extraordinary. You are not just surviving, you are building, you are contributing, you are becoming the backbone of this country's future. From survival to strength, that is the story of every immigrant woman in Canada, and it continues to this day, one woman at a time. Thank you.